Hi there. Would you like to learn how to make these delicious, crispy Mexican almond cookies that are a favorite of my great-nephew Wyatt's? If you do, just stay tuned for our next episode of Hilltop Stovetop, coming up right now. Hello and welcome back to Hilltop Stovetop, the show where we're teaching you how to make great meals in an ordinary kitchen. Today we have a special request from my great-nephew Wyatt. And Wyatt has sent me a recipe. He says, "Hi Auntie, I have a recipe for you. It's my dad's favorite cookie. My mom uses almond flour instead of wheat flour and almonds. She bakes them till they're brown. She doesn't use icing sugar on top either. I hope you put them on your videos. Love from Wyatt." Now Wyatt is 10, and this is really his favorite one as well. It's not just his dad's. So we're going to make these today. Now we're using almond flour instead of wheat flour. Our last video about the pizza, we were talking a lot about substitutions. This is a tried and true recipe with just using straight almond flour. And it's pretty simple. We're going to take a cup and a half of almond flour. Now if you were using regular flour, you'd use a cup of regular flour plus a half a cup of chopped almonds to give it that almondy flavor. And the recipe is actually for Mexican almond cookies. And so that's our almond flour, and then we're going to put in a cup of icing sugar. So these ones actually come out quite a bit like a shortbread with the icing sugar in them. There we go. And we're going to put a little bit of salt. When you add salt to sweet things, it just enhances the flavor just a little bit. We're going to put in about 1/4 teaspoon there. And then we're going to add half of a cup of butter. Now, if you don't have a mixer like this, you can mix it by hand quite easily. And those of you who have watched my baking videos before know that if you have a pound of butter, you can measure just a block of butter. You don't have to use a measuring cup. And we will split this into a few pieces. Get that out of the way. And that's how simple it is. It's just really those 4 ingredients. Okay. Get this big motor out of the way. Now there is a little bit of stuff in the bottom that didn't quite go together, so the last little bit I'll do by hand. And this is, you could do it by hand all the way from the start. It's a nice soft dough, very easy to handle. There we go. And now you'll notice that I'm not putting down any other flour because in this circumstance, I don't want to add extra any wheat to this because, again, if we're dealing with food sensitivities, you've got to be really careful with that. So I'm just going to put a piece of parchment paper on top of that. And so the parchment paper keeps things from sticking just the same as flour would. And then we've got our cookie cutter. It's actually a pretty good recipe. It doesn't make too many cookies. I mean, that can be a bad thing if you've got a big group of people. But sometimes when you've got a smaller group, having less cookies is better, so you don't end up eating a ton of them. And then I've got my cookie sheet all ready here, and I didn't get out a spatula. And again, putting them on parchment paper keeps them from sticking to the pan. And in my mind, it's much better because then it's, less mucking around to clean your pan afterwards as well. So we're just going to continue on with putting them on the pan, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we've got our first cookie sheet ready to go into the oven. Now, when you were rolling these, if they were a little too soft and you were having a little trouble, like I was with the first couple, just go ahead and pop it in the fridge for a few minutes, because when they're a little cooler, it's easier to handle. This kitchen is quite warm right now because we've been doing a lot of stuff today, so it made it a little softer than a normal kitchen would be. So we're going to pop these in the oven between 10 and 15 minutes. We're going to watch them closely. Just wait till they get nicely browned, and we will see you in a few minutes. 350 degrees it's going in here. Okay, so I think we're at about 12 minutes in here. We checked them at 10 and they were still a little bit on the light side. Oh, I think that this looks exactly the way they're supposed to look. So there we go. Beautiful almond cookies. Just going to close this up. And we are going to give it a little sprinkle. Now you'll notice how we've got two of them that kind of blended together. Oh, I should put this over here. The two of them that are blended together. Anytime you're making a cookie like this, they often will spread a little bit. We obviously had those two too close together. Now I'm going to take a little bit of icing sugar. I'm going to sprinkle this before I take them off the cookie sheet. That little dust, and that's easier to clean up than if you have it on the wire rack. Oops, left-handed mittens. And let's see how they come out. Oh, perfect. So we're going to let these cool, and as they cool, they will get crispier, making them an ideal cookie to have with your coffee. And making sure that you do transfer them over to the rack, because otherwise they'll get kind of steamy on the bottom, and that makes them gummier. There we go. Now let's just give it a break for them to cool, and then I'll put them on the plate and finish up. Thank you for joining us here at Hilltop Stovetop, where we're making great meals in an ordinary kitchen. Don't forget to like and leave something in the comments if there's something that you would like to learn how to make. And in the meantime, just keep watching, and we'll see you for the next episode.